Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Gittin page 60, Samech, which is the first of a very funny spoof of Star Wars called Spaceballs. And this Gemara reminds me of a famous scene in that movie. Over here, the Gemara discusses when Moshe was living his life and he was told to write down the Torah. Exactly why did he have any issues? For example, when he was sending out the spies and he came back with an evil report, or when he found out that the Jewish people were worshiping idols, or his conflict with Korach, not knowing what to do until they were punished, why didn't he simply take the Torah because he received the Torah? Why couldn't he just look to later pages, to the end of Sefer Bamidbar, and maybe certain sections in Devarim, in Deuteronomy, and find out what's going to happen if he received the Torah? So certainly that could not be the case. But this was actually a question that was also asked in Spaceballs. Lord Helmet wanted to be able to find where the rebel troops were. So he said, I have a great idea. We're making a movie right now called Spaceballs. Let's watch the movie and we'll fast forward to the point where we'll see where they're hiding. So they took the video and they started watching it until they got to the point of where they were. And then they tried to fast forward it beyond that time. And they were unsuccessful because they were living at that moment. So as the movie was being made, that's what the video was able to show them. But certainly could not show them anything that happened afterwards. And therefore they weren't able to find anything about their rebels or the rebel base or anything along those lines. And this is actually, maybe I should say the word lahavdil, the notion of how the Torah was transmitted, at least according to one of the two opinions here on this page. That Moshe was given information, and as he was given the information from Hashem, he transcribed it. He wrote it down. So the Torah was almost like a journal, lahavdil, or something along those lines, that he wrote chapter by chapter by chapter. And as things were going and things were happening, then he continued to have it written down until, of course, the very, very end, in which, in fact, the Gemara elsewhere discusses how did he write the last 8 sentences, because it says that he died. So some say that, well, Yehoshua, his successor, Joshua, wrote the last 8 sentences. That's one opinion that's brought down, because the Torah was being transcribed as was happening, but not that it was entirely given, which is an interesting perspective of how we understand that Moshe was Makabel the Torah. Now, on the simple understanding, Torah is so deep, is on so many levels. Of course, the Torah talks about Abraham, and it talks about the spies, and it talks about all these different things, but there's actually, in Kabbalah, many, many deeper levels and layers of the Torah itself, because the Torah pre-existed the universe. So it's kind of an interesting phenomena that on our limited understanding, we're reading it and we see stories and things of that nature, but it's much, much deeper than our own comprehension of what it really potentially could represent and the deep meanings and messages that are found within. But nonetheless, this is how it's explained. And the reason why it's brought down is because there was a question whether or not you could actually have a partial Sefer Torah and it could be read. So our tradition is that if it's missing a column or even a small amount, or let's say it was an invalid word that wasn't written properly, then it has to be fixed. But the question was, at least at that time, when the Torah was not completely given, perhaps the things were different.